Welcome to the Author Corner, our chance to meet the authors you'll want to read. I'm Stephanie, and I'm so delighted to be joined by author Jeff Stone, the author of Goodnight Port, Sunsets of Manhasset Bay. Thanks so much for joining me.
Of course. Thank you for asking me, Stephanie.
Oh, absolutely thrilled, and wow, what beautiful shots you have. An entire book full of beautiful shots. Look at this, gorgeous. I'll never go outside again without taking a little more of a second look. So tell me a little bit about this. How did you get into taking pictures of sunsets, and what did you use? I mean, these are gorgeous. You must use some fancy equipment.
Well, actually, I'll get to that. Let me first say how it all started.
Sure.
I live in a waterfront community. I'm blessed to be right on Manhasset Bay. I came to the Sunset area. I happened to see some lady taking photos. So I walked over to her and asked her what she was doing. She said, well, I'm taking photos. Want me to take a photo of you? I said, sure, why not? And then we started talking. She was a photographer, a photojournalist. And before you know it, I start sponsoring some of her Women in Art and Photography at LAU Post,
nice.
Which was wonderful, 2 years in a row. And since then, we had a good relationship, and she encouraged me to take photos all the time of anything that really interested me. And in this case, it was sunsets. So I did that over 14 years, but at first I didn't know what to say about the sunset, because that was my moniker. Every night I would post, and my stepdaughter, Carol, said, why don't you just say Goodnight Port? And it stuck. So for over 14 years worth of photos that I had to condense to a little over 200 for the book was quite an adventure.
I love that. I have to ask you, you said, I went to the sunset area.
Yes.
Is there a spot in Port Washington that says sunset area, this is where you take the picture?
Well, there are several areas. There's Sunset Park in Port Washington.
Okay.
There's the town dock in Port Washington. I've used those. I've used where I live on Manhasset Isle, and that is full frontal sunset viewing. And I'm just very fortunate to be in a place such as where I live, and sunsets all the time. And then I get sunrises too, but not too many of those.
Right, right. When you moved there, I mean, I don't know how long you've lived in Port Washington, did you select the place to live based on gorgeous sunsets?
Actually, no. I was still am a realtor.
Okay.
And I was looking for my wife, and we were not even engaged yet. But I happened to see this one community that I represented a buyer, and we went to see it. He didn't like it. I told my wife about it. We're sitting in Sunset Park, and I said, you see that place over there, Jenny? That's my wife's name. So Jenny says, no, and I started telling her about it. Before you know it, Jenny says, I want to go see that apartment. So we went over there, we put a bid in, done. And it's amazing. She never thought she'd be on the water. Me, I was always on the water, near the water, fishing in the water, wherever. I come from Douglas Manor.
Right.
And I was either painting the dock or scraping the rust off the dock and fishing there. And
you're a water boy.
That's it, So being on the water, to me, it was great. And I used to come to Port Washington when I was a little kid, too. I still love coming here. So I wanted to be in a town that you could actually participate in a parade, walk down Main Street, and I was able to do that, and volunteer for many activities and events in town.
Fantastic.
So, yeah.
And that client of yours, I hope he found another house he liked better?
As a matter of fact, I lost contact with them. Sometimes buyers find either other realtors to represent them, or they go their own way, or whatever it was, but it just kind of petered out. But I guess it was meant to be.
It was meant to be. It's yours.
There you go.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So 14 years, you said? 14 years of sunsets.
14 plus years.
Wow, that's a lot of sunsets.
Yeah, and when I decided to do this, because everybody on Facebook now started saying, Jeff, you got to get a book, and they wouldn't let up.
Right.
And I think one of the reasons why I got the book going is to keep them quiet. So now they want a second book.
Oh, yeah, you can never keep them quiet. And I see here, you have a calendar.
Yes.
So there's a book, there's a calendar. Your fans just keep going with you. That's it.
Well, exactly.
But gorgeous.
I'll be working on the new calendar for 2023.
Yeah, great, gorgeous.
And I also offer acrylic paintings.
Beautiful.
Framed paintings. yoga mats with sunsets on them. It's a website in the works. I'm still working on it,
Gotcha.
but getting there.
So tell me something about sunsets. You know, I go outside, I see a sunset. Sometimes it looks like this.
Right.
And sometimes it just,
Right.
what causes, do you know? Can
Well,
you predict?
You can't really. When you wake up in a day, it could be completely cloudy. But then all of a sudden it'll clear up and it'll be an awesome sunset. Sometimes it won't clear until exactly sunset time. The thing is, you never know. You need to be in position just to catch if there is going to be a really nice sunset. Sometimes the sunset itself sets, but the clouds in front of it give you a nice look in it of itself.
Right,
The pictures, the shades of gray and blue, sometimes red will come through. So every night can be different. There's only a few nights where it's just blah. There's nothing there.
Right.
So, but that's good. It's being out there, which is great because for me, being by the water, it's good for my mental wellness too.
I see that. Yeah,
So.
absolutely. And, you know, I'm guessing you don't have dinner until after sunset time?
Oh, that's a trip. Now, so sometimes if it sets like 8:30ish,
I
you
mean,
know, during the
sometimes it
summertime.
sets really late. Yeah.
Exactly. So we'll have dinner first, of course, and then we'll stroll out there. And by the way, during COVID, we formed a sunset committee.
A sunset committee.
What else are you going to do during COVID,
guess
right?
so.
A bunch of other folks, you know, got together. You know, we kept our distance and all that, but we enjoyed talking with one another. And that was one of the benefits of COVID, that people actually got to talk with one another, you know, safely.
Right.
And we still meet. Even during the wintertime, we all come out with our coats on and scarves, and you know, sometimes I could sit there in 10-degree weather with my coat and hat and boots, but you know something, you never know when the sunset's going to hit. That's the beauty of it. So you arrive a little early though, about a half hour to the sunset, 15 minutes at least.
Right.
And as the sunset unfolds, it gets more brilliant, or different colors, different shapes, the clouds come into play, but also don't leave when it sets. Stay 15 minutes till after the sun sets.
Now, why is
because
that?
then you get to see some really nice hues, nice colors, blues, golden colors, red that shoots up into the clouds. So to me, I would say 15 minutes before, 15 minutes afterwards at least, and you'll get a good show. And when I put photos up on Facebook, sometimes they're in the beginning one sunset, and then at the end completely different. You wouldn't
Really?
believe they're the same night.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Okay, so 15 minutes before, 15 minutes after.
Right.
Do I need tripods, fancy camera, flash? What do I need
see,
to
this
do to
is
get-
the beauty of it. All right, I use a cell phone.
Oh, thank God.
14 years, a cell phone, 3 different models. In my
No.
case, it was a Samsung.
Right.
And they take beautiful pictures.
Wow.
And to me, it was easier than carrying a professional camera, which I do have. But here, you just pull it out of your pocket, take the photo, and you do a little bit of editing, not too much where it looks fake, phony,
Right.
but just enough to bring out the highlights.
Yes.
So-
So all of these beautiful, beautiful pictures in here were taken with a cell phone.
Yes. See, that's great.
The
Anybody
same
can
cell
do
phone
that.
that we're all carrying around.
That's
we could
correct.
do.
Yes.
Wow. I love that. So in the wintertime, I guess sunset is like 5 o'clock. It's before
Yes.
dinner.
Yes. So, you know, it's getting to that point where we have to have dinner or start it
Yeah.
at 5:30
Right,
so we
right.
can finish and get out there.
Yeah.
Because if we don't show up, you know,
You got
we'll
your
get
son? You
we'll
got
get
your
a text from one of the members of the committee saying, "Okay, where are you guys?"
Yeah.
So we get out there, and a lot of the times, this is funny too, and you know, I don't want to put myself in trouble, but if it's coming to a sunset time and I'm in town driving,
Uh-oh.
I may go a little faster than I should, but sometimes I'll stop off at the nearest location. It could be the town dock, all right?
Right,
It could be
right.
Sunset Park. And, you know, I've been blessed with getting a good shot, or you're on a sailboat, or you're on a motorboat for a
yeah.
sunset cruise. And, you know, great shots there, you know?
Yeah.
So, again,
Right.
we live on the water, you know, enjoy it.
This is a whole, changes your whole daily schedule, though.
It does.
You got to make sure you know where you are at sunset time. It's
yeah.
better that you pick sunsets. I mean, I guess sunrise you get it over with early, but I'm not a morning person.
Well, you know, it's amazing. Even when my wife and I went to Arizona, we went on a sunset Jeep tour.
Okay.
All right. And on top of this mountain, and getting up there was something else. But there it is, sun setting, and the mountains, the vista. It was amazing, you know. And you take the shot.
Right.
You take a few shots, you know. And I find myself taking sunsets wherever I am, whether it's in Florida, New Mexico, Alaska, Washington State, Maine. Beautiful sunsets up there, you know. So again, it's something that I enjoy doing. It gives me a lot of pleasure, and from what I read, the posts, it gives a lot of people, you know, smiling faces and pleasure as well.
Now,
So,
I don't know if you're allowed to answer this next question, but taking Port Washington out, because
Yes.
we can't rank Port Washington.
right.
Best sunset in the world, not Port Washington. What would
Not
you
Port
say?
Washington. It's a toss-up. It's either say Sedona, Arizona,
Ooh,
or St. Augustine, Florida.
really? St. Augustine?
We had a shot over the intercoastal,
Right, right.
and it was a brilliant shot with some palm trees in there, and it did it in the foreground, a black and white, and a back color, you know, and it looked great. It looked like it should be on a postcard, you know, Florida. But you know, I get these sunsets, whether it's an alligator alley,
Yeah.
which I've taken sunsets, and I've gotten on top of a pillar, and my wife was saying,
Nervous
you know,
about that.
you know what's down there to
Yeah,
your left
yeah.
there, don't fall.
Don't fall.
But you know, I had to get the shot.
Yeah.
Or the Grand Canyon. I'm sitting
Oh.
up there on top of this rock,
Yeah.
mind you. The sun's setting. Then all of a sudden, hordes of people started coming by for the sunset. You know, so you know where these places are, and Cadillac Mountain, all right, up in Maine, another
Maine,
place.
right.
So you never know. If it's sunset, you get that. It's getting close to sunset, honey. What do you want to do? You want to? So we will. You know, it's nice just to get out and
Did
enjoy
she know
nature.
when she married you that every day at sunset time it was going to be a production?
No, not at all, not at all. But she's
grown.
enjoyed it. Yes,
It's grown and grown.
you know, she's happy for me.
Well, the other thing that's grown and grown, and I'm so thrilled, I know that much of the proceeds of the book are going to Project Help, which you are the founder of. Can you tell us a bit about Project Help? Health, education, and life programs of Long Island.
Right. Again, a story behind that
Yeah.
is with most things. I can remember watching TV, and this is 3 to 5 years ago, watching TV, looking at social media, reading a newspaper, something about drugs, something about fentanyl, something about vaping, something about mental illness, something about suicide, all of these things. And I said, you know, I got to do something about this. I held a position within New York State Kiwanis at the time, and I had the opportunity of doing something. And my co-founder, Kathy Levinson, she stated, well, why don't you get off your tail and do something about it? And I said, well, if I'm going to do this, you're coming with me. So we did this, and we have now a strong board together of clinicians, doctors, and experts in their own rights on mental health and wellness and co-occurring substance misuse disorder. So what we do is we're not a treatment organization. We refer out to organizations that do treat the
Okay.
individual that needs help. All right. What we do is we spread the message. We let them know what's going on. We talk about a particular topic within the mental health and wellness realm, as well as substance misuse. And then they'll say, well, where can I get more information on this? If one of our board members can do this, we send them to one of our board members. Or we send them to an outside agency, of which we're friends of. I'm on the Heroin Task Force in Nassau County as well. And there's so many coalitions that are doing just that, helping people get through a very rough period in their lives. So we spread awareness on mental health and wellness. And we are partnering with different entities on Long Island. And now we're going to be partnering with a large nonprofit service organization in New York State.
Right.
And we're very proud of that. We're forming teams right now throughout New York State on that matter. And because today, mental health matters. You know, it's as simple as that. You know, and stop the stigma that prevents us from getting the help that we need.
Yeah, I'm
So
so
this
glad
was
you
very
said that.
important to me doing this, because I've had friends that have gone through very difficult times and some weren't fortunate enough. And I want to make a difference, you know. And if we all do a little something, doesn't matter if it's a lot or a little, it all adds up, and you're helping. You're passing the message. You're pushing it forward, and that's really what I like to do. More oars in the water. You get to where you need to be.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I know that as the head is doing things, do you get one-on-one contact? I mean, tell me a little bit about some success stories.
Well, I had driven up to Lake George for a convention, all right, a speakers conference. And of course, I brought my wife with me. And I was speaking for about 40 minutes on mental health, wellness, and substance abuse, and the need to ask for help. You know, don't let the stigma, the fear of looking less than, prevent you from living a good life. So afterwards, this gentleman that called me up says, Jeff, you know, one of the folks came over to me and says I needed help. And he told me this just recently at the convention. He says, and this young man confided in what was happening. And we were able to direct him to the appropriate agency, you know. And I've had others, friends of mine, saying, one of my children suffering from a disorder. And I won't mention which, but the thing is that I'm getting a number of those calls, and I'm able to refer them to an expert that we've interviewed during COVID, as a matter of fact, when we pivoted from in-person seminars at the Port Washington Library to now recorded sessions on Zoom.
Gotcha.
And I wish I had Zoom stock at the time, you know.
Don't we all?
So we had many conferences, seminars. Say, for instance, we interviewed seniors and how they were coping during COVID. We had an interfaith clergy panel, first responders, veterans from World War II up to Desert Storm, talking about their experiences. We've done high schoolers in the area, college kids. We supplied speakers for University of Long Island on subjects that they wanted to hear more about. And it was over the course of 2 days, and we were able to do that in a virtual conference setting. So we supply experts, either our board members or experts on Long Island that are tops in their field, giving out advice, and we're talking with them. And it's kind of like a mini TEDx type speak, you know, and that's what we plan on doing again, but we're going to bringing in hybrid technology to really seal the deal, if you will.
So you were in person, then you were online,
Yes.
and one of the great things about online is your reach is wider.
Oh, sure, more attendees.
More attendees, and now everything is also recorded so that you can reach people, not just the people who were available that day.
Yes. We'll have a library of recorded sessions on our Facebook page, you know, Project Help Long Island. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and it's been a treasure trove from folks. You know, you can see the numbers viewed going up each month. And we want to do that again, but now with this service organization in the state, we'll have a library of 10-minute podcasts, something that's not going to bore you to death, but something that's right to the point and very good at it. You know, these are doctors, these are clinicians, these are experts, and talk about whatever it is, eating disorder, sleeping disorder, vaping, you know, this bullying, you know, which is very big, you know, early childhood trauma, you know, sets the person off into something where it's going to develop into something that's a negative.
Tell me a little bit about mental health issues and COVID, because that's been...
Well, COVID was, you know, it was almost like the flame that lit the gasoline. You know, because there are a lot of mental issues that people do have, more common than not. It doesn't have to be serious. Sometimes it can be, you know, very small, slight. But COVID it exacerbated it. It lit it on fire. Now, people are isolated.
Yeah.
All right, seniors especially were affected by it. All right, students, kids in primary schools were affected by it. And it was a big deal, especially, being on Zoom too many times.
Exactly.
So
I mean,
now,
Zoom is a great thing to be able to get a wider
Right.
audience for you, but for people to live on Zoom now.
exactly. So they didn't have the healthy coping skills that are needed, to work things out. Parents didn't know really what to do. So we had something for parents, we had something for students, we had something for seniors, like I said, first responders, because
Nice.
everybody is affected, all right? So we wanted to talk about it. We wanted to open it up again. And then we had people with personal experience that, what happened to them. Some had drank more, some
Yes.
used perhaps more drugs. And you see that happening, but you see a lot of these people too in recovery now,
Right.
because they're getting the help. They were, strong enough, brave enough to reach out to someone, and that's a
goodness.
big thing. It's
Yeah.
reaching out to someone, so that's why that number 988, the suicide hotline, is a huge deal. It really is. And but
Thanks
with
for
the
mentioning that. 988 is
988.
the suicide hotline.
But with the Zoom, is that you can be anonymous on there. All right, you don't have to go to, say, the library and say, oh, I don't want people to look at me. I don't want to say anything.
Right.
So now it's online, and if you want to ask a question, you can put it in chat or Q&A. It's a lot of things you can do, and it's funny. I've been on a session in Ireland.
Really?
Yeah, a friend of mine who has a group there, they called me up and say, we'd like you. I said, why not? That's happened twice now.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I am in touch with people internationally. And we were going to help out this one new Kiwanis club in Uganda,
Okay.
which now we're sponsoring, because the kids have been affected by a lot of strife, a lot of things that are going on that are very difficult. And their mental health, well, for now, it's getting them fed, which is more important than anything else. And that's why we're involved in certain town events, like this past week we did, food drive during this year
Nice.
several times, because feeding somebody, food insecurities, that's
Food
big on your
insecurities.
mental health. But
Absolutely. If you don't have enough food.
exactly. So we do what we can, and we're reaching people,
Awesome.
and it's great. It's really, really catching on. I see a lot of people now starting mental health awareness walks, which we've done.
No, like you said, it's getting rid of the stigma.
Yes,
It's bringing it to the forefront so that people realize they can get the help that they need
Right.
and not have to sneak around or worry about what that's going to look like, but just reach out.
exactly. So
That's huge.
we're very, very happy how things are going right now. We're also negotiating with a school district on Long Island
Oh, nice.
to help them. And again, we have
Well, school children,
Yeah.
absolutely.
there's a lot of things, projects too, to help your wellness, whether it's an art project or a photography contest, or writing an essay, or whatever it is,
Yeah.
It gets you engaged with others, and something that's non-confrontational or, subject to
Right,
bullying or,
exactly.
it's
Exactly.
everybody can participate, there's no real competitive angst there. So
Right,
it's,
right.
we're just trying to help out where we can.
That's awesome.
so,
That's
yeah.
awesome. Yeah. So Project Help Long Island, and some of the proceeds of this gorgeous book are going there also.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I wanted to do that. So, things happen when they're supposed to happen. And I said, boy, that would be a great deal. It gets more people aware of what's going on.
Right.
So whenever I'd have a book signing, you would have, a certain percentage of the proceeds will go towards Project Help Long
Right, and you're
Island.
getting more people to know about Project Help Long Island, not just people who can contribute,
Right.
but people who can make use of the services.
Yeah, we do make a difference, and somebody took notice. It was an organization, Long Beach Reach. They recently honored myself and Kathy Levinson as for mental health advocacy.
Fabulous.
And to me, that was amazing, which I never thought I'd be involved in, to be honest. So it's great, you know, being able to talk about it, to let others know about what's happening. And sometimes, because I'm in real estate, sometimes somebody will come to me saying, Jeff, you know, somebody here, you know, has a problem, and I could help them out. I could say, call this person. I'll email them or text them the number and the name. Call them.
Right.
All right, and start that way. You know, I've even had a contractor saying, you know, his brother is suffering from alcoholism. You know, so.
And how
again,
empowering that you are able to help people.
You know
That's just
something.
amazing.
People helped me. All right, so I want to help others. You know, and it's something that, again, it's beyond my wildest dreams that what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm on this mission, not like, oh, look at me, but people are placed in front of me on my path. I will know where to go, what to do, and it's almost like magic how things happen.
Yeah.
You know,
And the pieces
you know,
have fallen together.
they do. It's amazing how that's happened. I couldn't write a better story.
Well, I love that you shared some of the successes because, you know, local organizations, it's so great to hear that there's an actual difference. Sometimes national organizations,
right.
they feel so far away from the issues.
Right.
But this is right here on Long Island.
Yes.
Which is amazing. And also right here on Long Island, these beautiful pictures. Makes us all want to go out to dinner in Port Washington tonight.
You know, it's funny, now I'm on these Facebook groups, you know, that are landscape photographers or the amateur that's putting up photos, and they're always saying, where's the best spot to take the sunset of Long Island?
Right.
And I'm hearing it's all around all of Long Island.
Right.
You know, and where's the best sunrises? Well, I'm not so much into sunrises for obvious reasons, but you know, again, you'll know where you are, say on Long Island. I took a drop dead sunset in Mattatuck on Long Island Sound. I couldn't believe it how it turned. It looked fake, but it was natural. I said, oh my God, what happened here? You know, so that'll be in the new book.
All right.
You know, it's not just going to be Manhasset,
Not
but
just
it's going to be
Manhasset.
right. So
Long Island and beyond.
yeah, exactly right.
I
So,
think that's
yeah.
fabulous. Well, happy travels to you as you drive around taking sunsets.
Right.
You totally inspired me to take out my cell phone. Maybe there's an app to tell me what time sunset is every day, so I can get some pictures.
You know, it's funny. You'll know pretty much when the sunset is after doing it for a little while.
I'm
like
sure I'll
today
text.
was 7:07.
Look at that.
And before you know it, it's going to be down to 5.
All right.
And you know, but
Well, Good Night Port, Sunsets of Manhasset Bay by Jeff Stone. Thanks for joining us.
We're just books up on a shelf. Try to understand this if you can.